Good evening, and welcome to our last and final series of Paying for College 2021. Tonight, we are going to be talking about understanding student loans. We saved the best for last. This is the most exciting presentation of the whole series. But really, the reason that we saved the understanding student loans for last is really that should be your last option when you are thinking about how you're going to pay for college. My name's Alyssa Merton, and I work with the Oceana College Access Network, and we're also sharing information with Mason County and Manistee County students and families, helping you understand the basics of how to pay for college. So tonight, like I said, we're going to be talking all about student loans. You can access the other parts of the series from the last 3 nights. The first is Understanding Financial Aid 101. That was on Monday. And on Tuesday, we had FAFSA 101, and that was learning all about the FAFSA, important deadlines and how to create an FSA ID. And then we spoke with representatives from our local community foundations last night all about scholarships. So you can look at a couple of places to find those. You can look on the YouTube page for Oceana Can or Mason Can. As well, you can look on the Facebook pages of both. So let's get started in talking about student loans. If anyone has questions as we get going, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. All right, so when we are talking about student loans, there are 2 main types: federal loans and private loans. All loans are money that you borrow that has to be paid back with interest. So both federal and private, you will have to pay those loans back with interest over time. So a couple of differences though between federal and private loans. When you accept federal loans, the interest rates are fixed for the life of the loan. So you'll know the interest rate for the entire loan, whereas with a private loan, the interest rates can vary over the course of the loan. Another difference, federal loans, the fees are charged up front and it reduces the amount received. So let's say you were awarded $10,000 and the fees are $50, you would receive $9,000. Now I have to do math, $9,950 in loans. And with a private loan, your fees, some will be charged up front and or there could be fees throughout the course of the loan. We'll get into a little bit more details on the differences. We're going to dive a little deeper here. And we're going to talk about federal student loans first. Once you get to the point of accepting loans to go to college, you're going to want to consider the federal loans first. And the reason because they have a lower interest rate when you're paying those back. When you apply for federal loans, you must be at least a half-time student in order to receive loans or utilize loans from the federal government. And so half-time student means generally that you're taking at least 6 credits, but that's determined by your school what that looks like. There are a number of different types of federal loans. The first that we'll talk about is a direct subsidized loan. And what that means is that the interest does not start accruing until after you get out of college. A direct unsubsidized loans means that you are charged that interest from the day one that you sign onto that loan. And also a direct subsidized loan, we'll get into a little bit more details between the differences between those in just 1 minute. A direct plus loan, also the interest is charged from day one. And a direct consolidation loan would come after you are combining different student loans that you have. And the interest is also charged from day one on those loans. So diving a little deeper into understanding the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. When you're offered a subsidized loan, that's based on financial need. The student is the borrower. There is no credit requirement. The college determines the amount that the student can receive, and we'll get into the details of that in just a second. And there's no interest charged while in school. The interest rates for a subsidized loan is 3.73% throughout the life of the loan. Now, when we're looking at those unsubsidized loans, which oftentimes you may be offered both, those are not based on financial need. Anyone can take out an unsubsidized loan if it's offered. The student, again, is the borrower. There is no credit requirement. Everyone is eligible, assuming that federal FAFSA eligibility requirements are met. The student pays the interest while they're in school, so that interest, again, starts accruing the day you take out the loan. And the interest rates are a little bit higher on unsubsidized loan at 5.28%. So for your both loans, your repayment doesn't start, you don't have to start repaying those loans until after you graduate or after you stop attending school at least half time. So 6 months after either of those. So Parent Plus loans, I'm going to talk a little bit about the basics of what a Parent Plus loan is. And then we're going to get into how to apply for these loans. A Parent Plus loan, the parent is the borrower, as it says in the title. They're also called Direct Parent Plus loans or Direct Plus loans. The approval is based on your credit. So it's based on the parent's credit. And those Parent Plus loans are offered often after a student is offered the subsidized or unsubsidized loan. The amount that a parent can borrow depends on each college costs. And what that means is it depends on how much the college costs that the student is planning to go to, as well as how much aid the student has already received. So if they're already receiving a number of scholarships and grants and subsidized and unsubsidized student loans, then that may decrease the amount of Parent Plus loans that are offered. This is a really important part to note that often people don't understand. Given that Parent Plus loans are based on credit, so it's based on the credit of the parents, there are times when the parent may be denied based on their credit. If that happens, there is an appeal process where the student can then receive more offer in subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So if that happens, or if you know that's going to be the case when you're filling out the FAFSA, which I'll talk about in just a minute, if the parent is denied that Parent Plus loan, you can fill out the appeal form that all of the colleges have and resubmit that, and that student will then be offered more money. So looking at interest rates of a Parent Plus loan, those are 6.28% over the course of the loan. So you'll notice that's even a little bit higher than any federal student loan that will be offered. And they are unsubsidized, which means that repayment begins while the student is still in college, but it can be deferred by the parent if need be. We'll talk more about deferment in just a couple minutes. So that brings us to the question of, well, how do we access federal loans? All student loans and Parent Plus loans that I've talked about thus far are accessed or applied for by completing the FAFSA, which stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. As it indicates, it is free to complete this application. And generally, it takes families about 30 minutes to complete once you have your paperwork gathered together. I'll talk a little bit more about options to help you complete the FAFSA. It can be an overwhelming document, especially if it's the first time. But if your child has any indication that they're going to be attending college next year or training after high school, you should complete the FAFSA. The FAFSA is open right now, so any high school senior or current college student or person who is planning to attend college next year can go ahead and go right to the website and complete the FAFSA right now. That application is open. In Michigan, there is a soft deadline of March 1st, and what that means is that helps when you complete that FAFSA, it makes it so that you're eligible for Michigan scholarships and grants. So you will, after you complete the FAFSA, what happens next is each college that a student applied to will respond with a financial aid award letter. And that award letter from each college will outline the following. It will outline any scholarships that have been awarded to the student. local, state, national, or scholarships from the institution. It will outline any grants awarded, such as a Pell Grant. It will also outline any awards that the student is receiving from the college, so maybe a sports scholarship or any other scholarships from the college. And then it will outline the loans awarded. You'll notice that on those financial aid award letters, the loan amount awarded is all going to be the same because that's determined by you completing the FAFSA. Around May 1st, which is decision day, your student will need to let the college know that they're planning to attend. So say they applied to 4 colleges, Grand Valley, Ferris, Western, and West Shore Community College. And they're going to receive a financial aid award letter from all 4 of those colleges. Once your family sits down and takes a look at what's being offered, then you'll make your decision and the student will let the college know that they're planning to attend by May 1st. How will I receive my loan? That's a really good question. Once you let the college know that you're planning to attend and you accept or deny the loans that are being offered to you, your loan will be sent to the college, as are most of your scholarships and grants are all sent to the college that you're planning to attend. The school will apply those loan funds to your school account to cover your tuition, your fees, your room and board, and any other charges that you might have for attending that college. If after all of that is paid, there are still additional funds remaining, then they will send the check to the student to use for other educational purposes. But the loans will not be sent directly to the student. So things to keep in mind, just a couple rules of thumb. When you're thinking about how much loans you can accept or you're going to accept, for every $10,000 you borrow, you can expect to have about $100 per month payment. There are different repayment plans, but that's just an estimate. And then a rule of thumb is don't borrow more than the expected first year salary of your career. So if you know that you should be making a ballpark figure of around $40,000, you don't want to accept more in loans than that $40,000 amount. These are just rules of thumb. They're not rules you have to live by, right? There are multiple repayment plans for both federal and private loans. They will set up those repayment plans, but you can always contact the lender and set up a different plan if that's not working for you regarding how much you pay per month, or maybe how many months or years you pay on the loan. The other thing to keep in mind is that there are deferments or forbearance. And what that means is there are options after you get out of college, after that 6-month period when you graduate or stop attending at least half time, where you can temporarily postpone or reduce your financial aid award payments or loan payments. So if you defer your loan, the interest will not accrue during that time. And if you get a forbearance for your loan, the interest accrues the entire time you're under forbearance, but you're not making payments at that time. So there are a number of different circumstances where you might need to do that. So let's get into a few more details. This one is, once you receive your award letter from the college or university, one good thing to do is check back with the college and see if there's any other financial aid that might be available. Before you accept all of the loans, you don't have to accept everything that's offered to you each semester. And so before you accept, go ahead and talk to the financial aid department and see if there's any other options for scholarships that you may have missed, or grants or other funding before you accept those loans. Depending on your grade, that determines how much you can borrow each year, whether you're a sophomore or a junior in college, and other factors such as the program of study. such as if you're in a certificate program or an associate's degree program, there's going to be different amounts that you can borrow. And the school determines how much you're eligible for. And when I say that, I mean, if you're attending West Shore Community College and you're looking at Grand Valley State University, the tuition costs or the cost of attendance are very different between those two colleges. So each school, depending on what your costs are going to be, they're going to just determine the amount that you will receive in loans. So there's limits on the total amount of debt you are able to accrue through federal loan programs, and we'll look at that in just one second. And it ranges from $5,500 to $20,500 per year. So let's take a little bit more of an in-depth look at that. So the amount of loans that you're awarded each year it depends on if you're a dependent student or an independent student. And what that means is most high school students are going to be dependent students. That means they need to report their parents' income information on their FAFSA. There's very, very few circumstances where students will be an independent student before they're 24. So most students will be in that left-hand category. So what that means is the maximum amount that the upper limit that will be offered to a student is, in year one will be $3,500 in subsidized loans and $2,000 in unsubsidized. And again, that doesn't mean that that is what they're going to be offered, but that's the most amount you can take in loans in 1 year. And then there is a total limit for the amount of student loans that you're allowed to take over the course of your entire undergraduate career, and that's $31,000 for those dependent students. So you can see over here in this independent student column, I'll talk a little bit more about where to find information about how to determine if you're independent or dependent student. But again, most high school students will be a dependent student. So the loan amounts are a little bit higher. You can see it's the unsubsidized loan amounts that are higher, and you're able to take out more overall over the course of your entire time in college. So that level is bumped up to $57,500. So again, I mentioned if a parent is denied a Parent Plus loan due to their credit scores, then when you submit that appeal, then your student would be offered these amounts instead of the ones on the left-hand side. So last but not least, after exploring all other options such as scholarships, grants, federal loans that we just talked about, if you still don't have enough to pay for the college that you're planning to go to cover those costs, first, again, reach out to the financial aid department, explain your situation, and see if there's anything they can do. Sometimes there is. Not always, but it doesn't hurt to ask. There are private student loans, but again, private student loans have a higher interest rate generally, and you're much better off taking a federal student loan than a private loan. So there are local banks and credit unions that do offer private student loans. Shelby State Bank is one that is most local, and you can walk right in the front door there and ask about their student loans. The borrower can be the student or the parent. So if you aren't being offered enough in aid, you can go into a bank and ask about their student loan possibilities. It's a simple application at Shelby State Bank. It's an instant credit decision, meaning you'll know right away if you're going to receive a loan. And there's no prepayment fees. So you would receive that loan without paying anything to receive it. You can build a repayment plan that fits your budget. So you can stretch that out over more years if you need to, or less amount per month. And there's other refinancing options as well. So I went through a lot of that information really quickly. So I want to show you a couple of really great resources that will help you understand a little bit more of this in depth. Or if you need to look up and find more answers, you can take a look. One of the best places to find information about loans or scholarships or grants or really anything to do with financial aid is going to be this federal student aid website. This is one of the best places to find the information. They have a search bar here where you can search for anything you're wondering about. And they also have a chat over here that you can ask questions and they will answer them in real time. So that's one of the best places to go online for information about understanding loans or scholarships or how to pay for college. There's also a wealth of information on this website as well. So sallymay.com also has a lot of information. You can also take out private loans through Sallie Mae. And there's a wealth of information on this site as well. Another place that you can look for information, there's a lot of good local information on the Oceana College Access Network page. You can see that the way that this website is arranged is set up by plan, apply, pay, and decide. So if you have more questions about paying, there is a whole section or a page all about student loans that's going to cover just about everything that I just did cover. And it tells you all about and explains the difference between federal and private, where you might be able to find some of those private loans and so on. There's also a whole wealth of other information on this website, such as scholarships, where to find more scholarships and how to apply for those, and understanding the basics about the FAFSA and FAFSA verification. Another thing that you can do if you need some more help with completing your FAFSA, if you are a current high school student, high school senior, or a current college student, you can join us at Hart High School on November 16th between 6 and 8 p.m. And you're going to have the help of financial aid representatives from some of our local colleges will be there to help families complete that FAFSA. So if you're going to attend that, you can apply or you can register for that on our website, which is going to be back here, right where I just was. So you can register for that paying for college session at Hart High School on November 16th, and you'll come in there, bring your computer, or we can provide one for you. We'll feed you some pizza, and then we'll get going on completing your FAFSA. There'll be a number of financial aid reps that will be there to help. Here's the link right here on our page under pay, and you can register for that session at Hart High School on November 16th from 6 to 8. So if you need additional help, we're happy to do so. Reach out and ask for it. Your students will also be working during school with their college counselor and college advisors and counselors on the FAFSA as well as scholarship applications. So there is help available around many different corners, so definitely reach out and ask. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, definitely feel free to drop questions in the chat, or you can shoot a private message to Oceana Can, and we will get those answered as soon as possible. So if you feel like more help is needed, definitely reach out and ask. Thank you for attending tonight.